This is season 2 of Be the Change Collective season. This is spring 2021, episode 1, Unlocking Self-Confidence, Reclaiming Your Power. This is part of our self-love series. So this is going to last over 12 weeks. We've got 6 episodes, and each week we're going to have a presentation and writing exercises and a good discussion, and then the week in between we're going to have a more of a discussion around the subject. So unlocking self-confidence, reclaiming your power. Let's go. So a big part of this, I think, but this presentation is kind of going to go from very rational, logical, what we can do, like holding our hands to what we can do on a higher level, more spiritual level, to feel better, more confident in ourselves. So first of all, one of the first steps, I'm sure there's more, but we haven't quite fit them all in because we're not, all-knowing, not quite yet. Stop comparing yourself to others. Stop comparing yourself to other people. It doesn't matter where we are in life or who we are, there is always going to be someone out there that is doing better than us. Richest person in the world? Someone else's marriage is doing better. Jeff Bezos, well, he's not actually, I'm not sure if he is the richest person in the world anymore, but not long ago he went through a divorce and his wife she became the 3rd richest woman in the world after that divorce, and she got a settlement of $35 billion. Yeah, crazy. Smartest person in the world, someone else is probably better with people than you, and it goes on and on. So there's always someone that's going to be doing better than you in some area of life. So comparing yourself to other people it's a fruitless endeavor. Everyone is on their own journey. So there is really no fair comparison between any 2 or more people. And when we compare ourselves to others, it can create a huge amount of worry, doubt, anxiety, insecurity, and unfulfillment. Social media, we touched on this earlier a little bit, is worse for this, as you're not only comparing yourself to others, but you're actually comparing yourself to a persona of that person that is not even real. Social media accounts do not give the full story of someone's life. Most of the time, you just see the best parts. Social media influencers on Instagram, most people do this on most social medias. They post the things they like about their lives. And if you go on Instagram and you follow, influencers and stuff like that, influencers, you see all these posts and you think their life is just incredible, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. That these people could be feeling really bad day to day, or you just don't know what's going on. So comparing yourself to these people you're comparing yourself to something that's not even situated in reality. Most of the time you see the best parts and it's highly edited and made to look better than reality. So when you're comparing yourself to other people, you're quite often comparing yourself to the parts of them that you see as better than where you are anyway. So maybe you are doing really well in an area of life, but you're not doing so well in another area. You end up comparing that part of you with that other person that's doing better in that area. All of this creates a lot of stress. You're right? Which affects our hormone production level. When we're in a negative state, and we're having negative thoughts like this, and we're seeing someone as better than ourselves, our serotonin production drops. Serotonin is the happy hormone, makes us feel happy and fulfilled. And cortisol increases, which is the stress hormone. As cortisol increases, this then causes us to have more negative thoughts. And so the cycle continues. We end up having more negative thoughts, and then cortisol goes down even more. And then we serotonin goes down even more and cortisol goes up even more, and we feel more and more stressed. So instead of comparing ourselves to other people, I think we should try to compare ourselves to who we were yesterday or in the past. As stated before, did I state that before? I don't think so. Well, there's a bit of a hiccup there. We're all on our own unique journey in life. So the only person we can fairly compare ourselves to is ourselves. We can only ever strive to reach our potential in life, not someone else's potential. Whether we feel that we're better off now or not, we can always build on what's happened and progress to a better version of ourselves. We can always build on it. When we compare ourselves to who we were yesterday, we get the real idea of how far we have come or how far we may have gone wrong. And if we see we're not doing so well, maybe we look back and say, a couple of years ago, I really had my life together, but I let it slide, but maybe in that situation, you're comparing yourself, maybe you're enabling yourself because you're comparing yourself to someone who's actually doing worse. I say worse, but like in a situation, this person's, I'm not doing that bad compared to them, kind of thing. But when you compare yourself to who you used to be, you get the real picture. So we can realize that we're not living up to our potential, and we can adjust our course back on track. And when we see that we have made progress towards something good, this causes our brain to release more serotonin, which makes us feel happy and positive. And then we have more positive thoughts, and then we carry on taking more positive action, which boosts our serotonin even more. This is also why it's important to have a positive ideal that we're moving towards. So when you see you can track your progress towards something, then you feel good when you do move towards it. Accepting your uniqueness and being your authentic self. Once we come to fully understand that everyone is truly unique, we will give ourselves the respect and honor we deserve. You have abilities and flaws that make the perfect recipe for you. Like Mia, this is what Mia was saying earlier. Mia basically covered our whole presentation as well. So you were created to be you, not anyone else. You have your own potential in life that you can achieve. You're not here to achieve anyone else's potential. Know that you're here for a reason, for a purpose. Even if that purpose is just to make one person out of 7 billion people laugh or smile and brighten their day just one day, you're here for that reason. It's that makes it worthwhile. Each of us are our own divine puzzle piece that fits perfectly into the jigsaw of life and also into other people's puzzle pieces. If you find that you're not gelling with people, the more you accept who you are, you will find people that love you for who you are, and your puzzle pieces will fit perfectly together. And you're gonna find your people. I promise you, you'll find them. We don't have to try and pretend to be anyone else. We each have our own authenticity that once we find it, we will feel no judgment from others, even if they do judge us, and they will. The more we settle into who we truly are, the less we will feel the need to explain ourselves. If I'm introverted, that's who I am. It's nothing to be ashamed of. The world needs introverts. Yes, I think it's true that we sometimes need to limit the extremes of our personalities, though, and become well-balanced people. But for now, Just worry about being yourself and own it. You are unique. You are just you. Be yourself and own it. Know who you are and what you stand for. Once you know these things, this is like God level. Once you know who you are and what you stand for, you're untouchable. When we know who we truly are, when we know our place in the world and the responsibilities and purpose that that place holds, we will become a force to be reckoned with. The more we clearly define who we are, our personality traits, our values, our beliefs, our goals, our dreams, our actions, the more power we will hold. Greater than they who would conquer 1,000 men are they who would conquer just one, himself. And that was from the Buddha in the legendary Buddhist religion. When we know what our main aim is in life and we are committed to achieving it, this becomes our purpose. This is what we stand for. This does not have to be a specific thing, this aim. This could be just a way of living, a lifestyle based around our core values. But when we know what our core values are, which is what our purpose is and what our main aim is, any challenge or difficulty on the way to this aim simply just becomes part of the journey. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Like we were saying earlier about perception, it's all down to perception. What you see as a problem for you is not even a problem for another person. What you see is you're stressing out, you're freaking out about this thing, but someone else just might go, oh yeah, I've done that before. It's nothing to be worried about. But when you're here and you know what your values are, and this is how you're going to live your life, that's a certain path that you're on. And it doesn't matter which way, all the obstacles you have to go around, all the detours you have to make, you're going to that destination. And remember, you only truly fail once you quit. I think Zach is going to take over. Hang on, let me just turn. Okay, I'm just going to turn my camera off, but we're good.
Okay, Travis has got his hand up. I don't suppose we're taking kind of interim questions while we're presenting.
Yeah, try and remember it, Travis. We'll take it at the end.
Sorry, mate. I didn't know it was up. Do apologise.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. No worries.
I didn't put it down. Sorry.
All right, no problem. All right, okay. So, hi everyone. So, inner authority, not giving your power away, and this really ties in with the whole, passive aggressiveness. To me, like, say, right, I'm going about my life and I'm with my partner, and I expect them to be doing the dishes every day because that's this kind of agreement that we got, right? Not that, that's just the agreement that we just so happen to have at this particular time. And this particular one day or 2 days in a row, they don't do it, and I've got to do it. But instead of expressing like, oh, I'm not happy that you're not doing the dishes, I'm just kind of like being passive aggressive and just kind of, it's a very, every single one of us does this, but it all comes back to giving our power away because and what I mean by this, and I may dive into this more, but what I'm about to express here with these couple of paragraphs could sum it up quite well. So, authority, power, and meaning. How to not be scared of judgment. In our world today, we have been programmed to give our power away to perceived authorities. We are conditioned from birth to buy into the system, to shut up and bow down to the pillars of its matrix. Humanity has been in alignment with this level of ego consciousness for millennia, although I believe this is now changing. And what I mean by ego consciousness is essentially everyone's in survival mode, trying to look out for themselves. It's almost how we've had to operate on this planet from our level of consciousness that we've always had. But as I said, this is in the process of changing as I understand it. Part of realizing our power, our confidence, our inner authority is through not giving our power away in expectation of something in return. Now, this ties in with that whole, like, my partner's not doing the dishes, and so I'm being passive aggressive instead of really letting them know the problem, is that I am expecting them to do the dishes. And so, or I'm doing something, I'm giving to the relationship and I'm expecting something in return. And that is a form of giving our power away. Now, of course, in certain situations when things are by agreement, it's like, okay, we're still in a way giving our power away, but it's by agreement. And so we're accepting that. We're entering into that as almost like a contract, even though in a way between families, within family, contracts are messy and aren't really based on love. But nonetheless, my partner's not done the dishes and I'm pretty upset about it, but I don't feel empowered within myself enough. I'm afraid of something within myself. I'm afraid of losing the relationship ultimately, which then, I could lose my life ultimately if I lose this relationship, and it all ties in with that fear of ultimately ego survival. So we've got the fear of rejection here and the fear of abandonment. If I kick up a fuss at my partner for not doing the dishes, they might abandon me. And so that's like a core fear that every human has. And so this is the thing, it's like coming into our power. Like, why are we being passive aggressive? It's because we're afraid of our own power. We're afraid of the consequences of us expressing and wielding our power, because over many lifetimes we've all had a lifetime where we've wielded our power and we've had our head chopped off, for example, and that memory stays with us on a soul level. And that's why we're here today having this conversation. So, for example, as an example of giving one's power away, and really, I know I can say this term, giving your power away, and even though I've just tried to explain it, it's something that for me, I had to have lots of different examples to really understand what this idea is. And it's something that in our society we do all the time. We give with expectation of reciprocation. In business, that's very normal, and that's a very natural thing. It's all about equivalent exchange. But when it comes to romantic relationship, family, intimate partnerships, friendships, we even get into that trap where it's like, here's some money, but I want you to pay it back even though you're my family. And like, yeah, that's acceptable, fair enough. But at the same time, we're only doing that because we don't feel that we have enough love within ourselves to give that love, that money freely away without having to have it back. That's what giving your power away is. It's all coming back to self-empowerment and confidence. So, for example, I asked my parents what they think about my goal of becoming an artist. And they say, you need to go get a real job. I don't know if, Abby, this may relate to you, sorry to pin you out, but just saying they might have something here, a childhood perhaps. I know it's the same for me, same for many others. Because I see my parents as an authority over me, I then give huge value of meaning to what they say. But this is the trap. I was asking a perceived authority for validation of something that I was passionate about. But the trap was that I was subconsciously expecting positive reinforcement and support. Like, they're my parents, right? I want them to be supportive of whatever I'm doing. But instead, I received the opposite from them. And the big meaning I gave to their unsupportive opinion shut me down from wanting to pursue that goal. So that was me putting my power in my parents' opinion, not putting it in myself. And that's disempowering. Chris, I may not have, too far. Okay, so the law of one principle, the all is one and the one is all. Judging self and other selves, because really everyone here right now, you're me and I'm you, and vice versa. Bit of an interesting concept to get around if we're stuck in the logical mind, but from a quantum science perspective, Who here has heard of quantum science before? If you wish to raise your hand if you're on video. Doesn't matter, I'm sure pretty much everyone here has heard of quantum science. In quantum science, there is the entanglement theory, which suggests that everything in the universe is connected, that everything can be in one place and every other place at the same time, because atoms are intertwined outside of the confines of linear time and space. This means that energetically, all things, all people, all animals, all plants are connected at the quantum level. So when one person hurts another person, they're then hurting themselves because all of creation is interconnected. So it's like me saying to my partner who's not doing dishes, it's like, hey, like I could be insulting and really horrible to them, and that would hurt them. But really, it's going to be me that's hurting because I'm going to feel really bad about myself for being so nasty. Like, and probably, so the one is all and the all is one. So when another person thinks harsh, judgmental thoughts about us, they are harming themselves because those harsh thoughts are like daggers in their mind that consequently harshly affect their emotional and physical bodies. Take care, Eric. This is where we can step into a higher perspective, where we can have compassion for those that judge us because they're only harming themselves without realizing it. People usually judge others on what they don't like about themselves. Oh, yeah, so we didn't update this. Sorry about this mad title, but yeah, so quote of mystery of the highest mystical secret order from the Buddha. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else, but you are the one that gets burnt. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, when I said earlier on about still having that child within. Yeah, we're still there. We're getting there. Self-empowerment through equality. The law of one principle reminds us that all is equal, including humans. Our societies have flipped this natural law on its head to serve the ego, for example, that of kings and queens being better people than, for example, peasants, or the societal constructs and hierarchies, which, while this aspect of survival consciousness and like societal structure in this way has been an important aspect of our world because we wouldn't be where we are today without it, it does not empower the individual at the individual level. In fact, it's really disempowered us all. It's why we're having this call today. It's why we question ourselves. It's why we have all this shame. It's why we're conditioned to feel shame, which is the lowest emotion. It's the lowest frequency state, the lowest vibration we can be in is shame. And so if we feel any kind of shame towards ourselves, then, we're going to be so shut down and feel so small. And so we want to work with that shame and realize and find the higher perspective to what we're going through to enable us to bring ourselves up and raise our frequency way beyond that shame into love, ultimately. That's going to bring us so much more confidence. And yeah, bringing the love into ourselves, loving ourselves is going to really help our confidence in the long run. So on the soul level, we have our own special and unique offering that we task ourselves to provide to the world. And this is like what Chris shared, Mia shared today as well. So when we understand that there's no one better than us and no one worse than us, that everyone has an equal and valid role to play in the world, we can use this as a permission slip to take our emotional and mental chains off to embody the highest version of ourselves. So here we have a little writing exercise I call it the purpose polarity writing exercise, and it's all about finding your highest alignment. So some of you here may have something very clear in your mind about what you want to do, but this process is very good for really just finding what you want to be doing, finding your highest alignment. So if you'd like to get a pen and paper, we'll just spend 1 or 2 minutes just kind of writing down 3 things that you're most curious about, that you do in your spare time, that you love. Okay. So I'm just going to take 1 to 2 minutes, and that could be anything. Like for me, it's like researching like spiritual, metaphysical stuff, personal development stuff. Whereas my day job for a long time was driving cars. Like I loved researching that stuff, but I was driving cars, which wasn't my highest alignment. But so what's your passion? What's 3 of your most passionate things that you love? And you don't have to limit it to just 3 things either. Okay, so we've had about a minute or so. I'll just give it a little longer.
We're just doing the first 3 things for now.
Yeah, we can do, but if you want to
Yeah.
try and get ahead onto the thing that you're afraid of doing as well, it's up to you, but we'll get onto that next.
All right, yeah, I'm still doing the 3.
Cool.
Do you want to explain the next bit? You're muted.
Right. Yeah, so so the next section now, I guess we've had a bit of time then just to be able to kind of get clear on those 3 or more things that we're most curious about in life. So now the next section, the polarizing aspect of this is, so we got that thing, those different things, and we'll go into this in a second. We'll get clear and show you how, well, I'll give you an example of how I connected my own dots in my own life, and I've come up with this kind of picture that is really like, okay, yeah, that makes sense for me personally. So yeah, with a positive, like we're doing, like we just done, that's finding what we're passionate about. But then the polarity to this is like, so what are we afraid of? Because usually through diving into what we're afraid to do, we can actually create the most growth for ourselves. And we often find almost all of the time that the thing we're actually afraid of didn't even really exist. It was just a thought. It was just a fragment of our imagination. So if you'd like to just take a moment to write down one thing that you're afraid of doing, perhaps in relation to one of the things that you're passionate about as well, if there is a connection there. Okay, so we've had a bit of time to do that. Now we're going to go ahead and start looking at these 3 things that we're most curious about. So really, to put this into perspective, there is this idea that your passion exists at the intersection of 3 or more things that you are most curious about, right? So to put an example to this, like in my own lifetime, in my own life so far, I went to university. Now I was in college. I got inspired to do 3D modeling and animation. I then went into university and did 3D modeling and animation, and I really enjoyed it. It was really good. But then I left uni and didn't pursue that. I then slowly over time got into graphic design, and then over time developed into marketing. And recently, in the past couple of years, I really started getting more into like emotional healing on myself and love and like self-love practice upon myself. And now this is slowly starting to graduate into helping other people with their emotional healing and like self-love. And so now at this point now, I'm starting to realize this grander picture of what I created for myself. I didn't even realize it at college, at university. I didn't even know what I was doing. It was just like I was doing what felt good to me to pursue, right? No conscious intention here. But now I've come to this point and I realize like, and I've had this confirmed from external sources as well, such as, yeah, but that doesn't matter. How I feel inside is I realize like, what if I'm meant to be helping people heal their emotions and love themselves, but I'm also able to use my multimedia design skills to package it into something that is really appealing and useful educational content wrapped up in a course, which is also then marketed with the marketing side of it. And so I suddenly see like this whole tapestry that I've created in my life that was all meant to fit together, even though after leaving uni, it was like, oh, that was a wasted course then. I'm not using it. And here I am now. And I have used the 3D animation a little bit, but that's just what I wanted to say for my own example. It's like, for the longest time, I didn't ever think, I thought, oh, graphic design, yeah, that's cool, but I don't really want to be doing graphic design forever. And then, oh, that looks cool, but I don't really want to do that either. But now it's just kind of all fitting together and it makes sense to me. So I invite you to, after this presentation, because we don't want to go on much longer, it's just kind of take a look at those things that you've written down that you find most interesting and see what you're currently doing now, perhaps in your work, your day job, or it may be completely unrelated, and see how that could relate to your passions and how all these different things can work together and link up. Okay, that's what I would suggest as homework for this. And also practicing this practice every week or every month, or even every day if you really wanted to, but every week or month, it just over time you'll refine yourself to the best effect. Really, you'll start to see more of Chris, I'm reading that. Go back. Sorry. And then we got the fear aspect, so like humanity. So then we got the fear aspect of this. So like we do as humanity, we push things to the absolute limit, and then we reach a breaching point, and then we just transform massively. Like we push ourselves nearly to the point of death in most cases, whether that's to do with our health or like extreme sports, or like there's not many. It's just how we are, right? We're just incredible beings. And so that in terms of that fear, I know for me, for myself, with like this whole like marketing, graphic design, educational content, spiritual stuff. Oh, that's the part I missed out of the picture. Is like for the past like 6 years, I've just been studying spiritual stuff, like religious, like continuously. So it's been a massive passion for me, and now I realize how it's all linking together. But the thing I fear is like, for me personally on my own journey, is like going through a lot of rejection in childhood and like from past lives as well, mounting up to this one now. But like in my childhood, going through that and having to really find my confidence, really find my own sense of power and an authority over time, which I really have. And a big part of that is like my fear is of rejection, of putting myself out there on the public stage, as it were, through video, for example. Like it's scary for me, like it is for most people. It's that fear of rejection. Oh, what will people think of me? But that for me is like, I'm afraid of that, but I realize that's also the key to my salvation, or my fulfillment, shall I say, not salvation. And that's a key. So that's just an example of like, what we need to do then is we need to work with the emotions that we're feeling around rejection. So that's a fear. We're working with the emotion of fear around rejection, and also mental beliefs that we've accumulated about like self-worth and how small we see ourselves mentally, because we're afraid of the consequences. But these emotions and mental beliefs block the manifestations of what we came here to achieve. And they need to be worked with. So that's the point of fear there. Is like what we're most afraid of. For me, public speaking on video. Okay, so every time I'm making a video, I need to breathe and just feel the fear and just really let it out of me, and then I'm able to continue with the video. But if I'm making that video still in the vibration of fear, like it's not going to be as good. It's going to come through, and people will be able to sense that energy, that vibration of fear that I'm putting off, and yeah, it's just not going to be it won't be the highest temporal version of the video that it could be, I suppose, in a really complicated way of speaking. So, right. So yeah, this is just kind of like just to put it out there, that in terms of like the whole healing with the emotion of fear of rejection, like there's a whole other subject. We're not going to get into it, but if you'd like to, if you do, like, for example, anyone here who's feeling fear around whatever it is, and that's preventing them from having the confidence to move towards their goals right now, whether that's a fear of whether that's fear or sadness, or even anger towards something or a person, something that's holding us back, then there is a self-help emotional healing course that we put together on a previous presentation, and you can find it on the YouTube channel, which is that link there. And also, I'll remind everyone of that, because that link is not exactly easy. In a couple of days' time, go to BeTheChangeCollective.com, because I'll have the website ready live by then, and you'll be able to get a link to the YouTube channel from there as well, just to save you trying to remember that URL there. So, and the video you'll be looking for is Goal Setting and Achieving Part 5, Letting Go of Our Blocks, Emotional and Mental Healing. So it's just for that section, if you'd like to take a note of that now. And that will be it for now, and we'll move on to the next slide. So can someone please post the link here if possible? Yes, sure. If Chris, if you could do that, please. And
we'll just do it at the end.
Okay. So finding self-empowerment through bringing source within, or bringing God within, whatever you want to call it, because really a word doesn't really describe, you can't really describe it, but the following information is coming from a universal context, not a religious context. And I just want to emphasize that. It's like, yeah, like a part of me in a way is Christian, but like there's so much deceptive, agenda-based, distorted, twisted stuff in the Bible that I just can't subscribe to it. But that's me personally anyway, and I don't judge anyone who does. It's just saying that this information is coming from a universal, not a religious context, but really they're almost very similar anyway. So when this universe was formed, God or source created each soul as separate from itself. So every single soul that's here today was created as an individuated spark of consciousness that basically was given its own ego and thus had its own free will. And this was so that God could experience itself, herself, himself, whatever you want to call it, source, creation, to experience itself from as many different angles and possibilities as possible. Okay. And so this idea is that we are separate from God, even though we're really not, because God is the omnipresence. It is within this PC monitor that I'm looking at right now, but it is also within every ounce of my fiber and every ounce of everything that ever is, including everyone here, right? But we are also separate from God in that, as I explained, God gave us an ego so it could pretend that we're separate. But the only way that we can really bring God into ourselves is by building a relationship with God, and that is done through bringing God into our heart, because that is the seat. So the goal here is to get so aligned with God source energy through the Christ throne at the back of the heart. And I'm not referring to Jesus Christ, I'm referring to the energy of Christ, although it's one and the same thing. But Jesus told us that we could do everything that Jesus could do and more. So we are the Christ. Every single human being has the capacity that Jesus had and more. And he would say that, and that's what he wanted for us. And so we find our God connection within the back of our heart at that Christed throne, okay? And so then confidence doesn't even become an issue anymore, because when you've got that much, when you've got infinite power channeling through you, through your heart, you kind of, yeah, like you may still have some fears, you may still have some doubts around yourself, but with great power comes great responsibility, and then you've got to use it to best effect to help as many people as you can. And that's really what being in alignment with God is all about, because that's what God wants. God wants to help everybody. It wants to help all of its children. And so we get to be hands of God if we so choose, but we have to build that relationship. And then when we do, when we surrender to the source within ourselves and outside of ourselves, because God is the omnipresence of within and without, we get to sit back and let the source work through us. Like I was saying, we get to be a hand of God, and we get to do the bidding. We surrender, and we surrender our egos essentially to a degree, you know, we're not entirely surrendering our egos, but the more, the better in a lot of ways. Life then becomes boundless, effortless, joyful, empowering, and we are fully supported, like whatever you choose to do when you're bringing God through you. And God is and you're allowing God to act through you to help others. Like there's no other higher form of service than that in a perspective. So how do we do this? It's just a daily exercise in combination with that purpose polarity written exercise. Now, this one is something I've been doing a lot of, and I didn't do it for months, like a good few months. I wasn't really, my relationship with God, I was like, yeah, I'll come back to it another time. But then it's been the past, to be honest, the past week, I've decided, I was like, right, I know I've experienced what that feels like. I know what it feels like to be talking with God from within my heart. And the feeling is just, I don't know who here has experienced that, but it's just incredible. And that to do this, I would practice gratitude towards myself and towards things in my life every day. I would make as many moments as pristine and as perfect as I possibly can, and to bless those moments to source. So it's like I look out my window in the morning and I'm like, bless this beautiful morning. And that's just an appreciation. It's the more you give of that appreciative energy, the more you're going to receive it, the more you're going to feel good. And blessing your environment as well. Like I said, looking out the window or looking at blessing your space. Like animals bless their space all of the time, but we don't. We're actually, humans tend to be much more harsh on their space. So if we bless our space, generally, it's going to help improve how we feel about ourselves as well. And of course, cultivating love energy inside of ourselves, like, because if the idea is that if within the quantum field in its entirety of all that it is just pure love at the end of the day. It is that pure state of energy, love, compassion. And so when we bring that love energy into our heart space, which is shared in the emotional healing presentation that we're linking to at the end on a practice of how to do this, the amount of love that we bring in is just going to improve our connection to source. So that's really the wrap there. So the summary, what we've covered today. Chris, would you like to summarize?
Hello. Yeah, sure. Thanks for that, man. I would like to make a point, like the purpose polarity writing exercise. I think that it's important to do so you know what your purpose is, because a lot of people I talked about earlier how once you know what your purpose is and you know what you stand for, then you will feel confident in yourself, because there's nothing that can stop you. Then no one can judge you, because there's nothing to judge. So that's why we're doing that. So you can, but a lot of people have the problem where they think, oh, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what my purpose is. Right. So most people I think that you ask would probably say that. So that was a great exercise from Zach there to help us to understand what to do. And I think the fear part of it is really important as well. There's a great quote that the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek.
Good one.
Yeah. So yeah, summary. Stop comparing yourself to others. It makes you feel terrible. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday for that real guide of how things are going. Accepting your uniqueness and being your authentic self, and accept yourself for who you are. Know who you are and what you stand for. And the writing exercise at the start of this meeting is a great starting point for that. You know, of having that who am I, what I'm like, where I'm going. Once you have those things down, then you won't feel judgment from anyone, and you can just start making progress towards what you want. And then Zach went into inner authority, not giving your power away to other authorities, so people that you think might be in an authoritative position to you. The one is all and all is one, which means we're all connected. So when someone's judging you, throwing hate at you, they're really throwing hate at themselves. Self-empowerment through equality, seeing we're all truly equal. And then, the writing exercise. So that was, what are 3 things you're most curious about and that you do in your spare time that you love? And then what's the one thing you're afraid of doing? Potentially in connection with those 3 things. And you might be able to come up with a desire, a purpose out of those things, something that you really would love to do, and aligning to source your daily exercise. So this is giving appreciation for each moment that you live, just being mindful, giving appreciation to your environment, the things around you, practicing gratitude towards yourself, saying thank you to yourself. I mean, there's always something to be grateful for. And if you have ever done a gratitude exercise, you'll realize that you are truly rich. There's so many things that you enjoy in life that you might not always take account for, and cultivate love energy inside of yourself. I think so. And then we have links here at the end, which we can post as well. But if you go, most of you came from the meetup groups, so you can go back to the meetup groups and find the other links in the descriptions of those for the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. We're going to be starting a website up in a couple of days. Zach's going to be on that. And I just want to say, I think we've covered this quite well. I mean, it was unlocking your confidence and reclaiming your power. And I think just a lot of what we're going through at the moment, coming out of all this coronavirus lockdowns, people can feel very anxious about going out in the world and seeing people and stuff like that again. And something we missed in the presentation that we did talk about earlier was that just take things easy at first. I mean, we all have a comfort zone we're in, and we want to try and get out of our comfort zone, but don't put too much pressure on yourself and chuck yourself in at the deep end. Just take small steps, go and see someone that you feel comfortable with, spend time with family, and gradually move up from there. And know that it's okay to feel how you're feeling, but doing the things that we've shared in here, like compare yourself to who you were yesterday, and defining who you are and what your purpose is, and working out what the purpose is through this writing exercise, and realizing that everyone's equal, then you're going to feel so much better equipped for going out into the world and feeling like you can be your best self and tackle everything. So everyone that's watching this replay on YouTube, thanks for watching, and hope to see you at a meeting soon.